That being said, let's get right back into it with this complaint, because right now we're getting into the facts. This next couple pages, we're getting into the juicy deets about what they said. And oftentimes these statements we're going to see in the next couple pages are things you probably heard live listening to this guy when he did the earnings call. So a lot of the statements you're going to see in this are from the earnings call. That's why it's important for you guys to tune into these calls, because literally it's always an adventure of what did Bob Chapek, or used to be Bob Chapek, now Bob Iger, what did Bob Iger say that's going to be used in a lawsuit against him?
Well, to be fair, game. Andrew, Chapek was named in the suit too. So
no, he is. Yeah. He is, right? So
this could have been either one of them.
But going into the future, it's Iger, right? So we can look forward to Iger's statements. This is looking back at where Bob Chapek screwed up. So, all right. So defendants made representations that the initial subscribers had been boosted temporarily and they made representations notwithstanding, so meaning regardless of the fact that the initial numbers were boosted temporarily and unsustainably by a low launch price of $6.99. Additionally, on top of those promotions, there was a near captive audience who were homebound due to COVID-19. They literally were out here watching, they're done watching Tiger King and they are desperate. They're thirsty for content. So, on top of that, they had competitors with Netflix, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, HBO Max, YouTube, Peacock. Disney was never able to track 2024 profitability and subscriber numbers provided to investors, and such estimates lacked a reasonable basis in fact. So saying that their projections, their glossy projections, their projections of 260 million subscribers and profitability, those were rosy because they didn't take into account those facts. So despite that, defendants engaged in a fraudulent scheme to hide the extent of Disney Plus losses and the growth trajectory to make it appear to be achievable when it wasn't. They did this by using the newly created merged department. So by merging the departments to shift costs out of Disney Plus and onto legacy platforms. So it's cable media, traditional licensing, third-party agreements to shift those costs out of Disney Plus. So just take whatever's in the Disney Plus, loss side and shift it out.
Yep, that's what they call DMED. Now, there were other reasons that they did that. We can talk about that in a minute, but keep going.
Sure, but that's what they're alleging here, right? So they're saying that was done under the direction of Chapek, Daniel, and Carthy, right? So they all knew about it.
Yep, Chapek, Kareem, Daniel, Christine McCarthy.
And they debuted content created for Disney Plus initially on legacy platforms in order to shift marketing and production costs onto that platform. So they would launch it on legacy real quick and then shift those costs over, when really it was something that was intended for Disney Plus. Really, it was a Disney Plus item, right? As part of the scheme, Disney Plus's financial performance appeared more successful than it was. Defendants aired certain shows that were supposed to be Disney Plus originals, such as the mystery show, The Mysterious Benedict Society, and the medical drama, Doogie Kamealoha MD, right?
Yes, it's a Doogie Howser. It was the woke version of Doogie. It was never mind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like a giant Doogie, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a significant portion of the production of these shows was shifted away from Disney Plus. Despite the cost shifting, defendants repeatedly represented during the relevant period that this was best for customer preferences and for the business. So they were saying this is what the business is best for business, right? We're doing this for the business. We're doing this for you guys, right? So here comes the false and misleading statements. These are the public statements. So on December 10th, there was an Investor Day presentation. So this was intended to update investors about the business and its strategies. So Chapek at this meeting made this statement about Disney Plus and the subscribers. He said, and I quote, Disney Plus, let me zoom in here because this is of such bullshit. Disney Plus has exceeded our wildest expectations with 86.8 million subscribers as of December 2nd. That's quite the achievement. This success has bolstered our confidence in the continued acceleration towards a DTC first business model, direct to consumer. That means pretty much streaming.
Yep.
And more importantly, it's launched the Walt Disney Company into a new era of delivering consumers into truly exceptional entertainment built around our world-renowned brand and franchises. So obviously, it's bullshit that this is exceeding expectations. This is great. Obviously, it's not as great as it should be to achieve profitability. Further, he went on and said, and I'll just read the bolded part because there's a lot of statements here. As circumstances change, we will continue to consider these and other critical factors when determining what steps we may take to most efficiently distribute our programming. Our goal is always to serve consumers in the best way possible, right? So saying they're going to look at the data, they're going to look at customer preferences, they're going to look at what audiences want. To be honest, Valiant, is Disney really giving a shit about what audiences want and what the people want? Have they been focusing on that as a core consideration over the past 2-3 years?
From a content and production standpoint, no. But one of the things, to be fair, with what Chapek was referring to when he created DMED with Kareem Daniel, Disney Media Entertainment Distribution, was not so much about exactly what kind of content that we will create. I think that was coming down the pike, and I even talked about that on YouTube many times. But in the beginning, it was more about how a certain product or piece of content would then be distributed. So removing the power from the studio heads to decide, this is going to go to the theater, this is how much we're going to spend marketing, this is how, no, it was going to go to the singular department to decide, okay, we're going to greenlight this project, but we're going to decide how much is going to be spent to market this and where it's going to go. And the studio heads, of course, did not like that. There was a lot of conflict, and that's one of the biggest impetuses that basically got Chapek forced out the door as time went on. But in terms of the specific, let me address the shows they bring up in the suit. Those two things, the Disney
those
Hauser,
two specific shows,
those are very small potatoes.
Of course. I like the fact that we hadn't really heard of them implies they're small potatoes, right?
Small potato budget, small potato productions. Again, these were not headline $200 million monsters that came out of Marvel and Star Wars. These were the, if you break it down to singular cost for a given show, those are the 800-pound gorillas in the room, right?
Right.
Certainly they spent a lot of money elsewhere for streaming, and that's the other thing, is that they never really broke out when they said, okay, this is our DTC losses for a given quarter. So when we lost at Disney $1.4 billion, third or fourth fiscal quarter last year, whenever it was, I think it was that worst one where Chapek got exited out like 2 weeks after the earnings call on November 8th. They didn't say, well, $1 billion of this came from Disney Plus, $100 million of this came from Hulu, and $300 million came from ESPN Plus. We don't know. Now, we can speculate with relative accuracy that the lion's share, and I do mean the overwhelming lion's share of those losses, probably stem from Disney Plus. Okay? Hulu is probably actually very profitable for Disney. If it wasn't, Disney would not be tripping over themselves right now to get the balance sheet in order to make sure that they can affect the put that Comcast has on
Hulu.
On Hulu.
Yeah, right now that's the scramble, right? That's the scramble for money is to cover that, right? Because they're going to have to borrow. So let's come up with every penny. So we know we're going to have to borrow, but so we have to borrow less, or we can leverage it at a better rate, or we can get a better interest rate, right? So obviously people will be willing to lend them more if they have more cash on hand and more free cash flow. So obviously that's been their priority. But my priority was getting to 500 likes. And I said I'd take a shot if we got there. We had 1,000 viewers and 500 likes. So appreciate that so much. Thank you. 558. Let's see if we can get to 600, 700. But anyways, this is the one I owed you. So cheers, Laheim. And also big shout out to all those people in Florida that are surviving the hurricane right now. That are there, braving it out. Cheers, you guys. I'm from Miami, Florida. I have lived through many tropical storms and hurricanes. Stay bunkered down, stay inside. Floridians know how to deal with hurricanes. Cheers, guys.
There you go. And folks, thank you for being here. Yeah, we get almost 600 likes now, getting closer. Keep hitting it. If you have not hit the thumbs up button yet, do that. We appreciate you being here. Over 1,000 watching now. Yep. I did share it out. Be like Valiant. Share it out to Twitter and Facebook. Share it out. If you have a YouTube channel, I shared it out on my YouTube channel too, getting all my people here. But please hit the like button and share it out. We appreciate it. And there you go. Over 600.
And you're not going to get this. You're not going to get this anywhere else. You're not going to get legal financial combo tag team against Disney. This doesn't exist anywhere else on the internet in the world. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's being honest about this. We've been the guys who've been on this for the last year. We've been hammering this, right? Valiant was the one, and we've been, talking about this, and it's been insane to see this blowing up and these stories blow up, particularly in the last couple months. And by the way, guys, strap in because we are not at the end of this crazy train. This is just the beginning of the crazy train.
That was strap in, not strap on. I know in this day and age we have to delineate between the two.
Not Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. This is not available at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. They're not doing that. What they're doing there. I'll read this one. Kiss My Grit says, given this lawsuit in the RCID criminal investigation, I assume you meant RCID, can we expect at least one Disney exec to be thrown in the indictment, rat poo, or escape by? I think they'll get deposed. I definitely think the execs are going to get deposed, right? So that means they're going to be, they're definitely going to be questioned. I think the former lawyer, the chief counsel, I think he's going to be really on the line because there's a lot of proof there that he was double dealing with both Disney and RCID, that he was actually working for both, taking money for both. That is a ethical breach, in addition to potential legal breach. So there's a lot of potential issues there. So in terms of people on Disney's line, there's potential, there's real potential there. We'll see how deep the rat's nest goes, but I think it's pretty deep. So that's my thought there. Troy Neenan says, what about contagion? These board members and their companies must know a lot about this. BlackRock, Vanguard, MasterCard. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on contagion?
Look, I know it's real popular out there to every time something goes wrong, especially with Disney, is like bring up the BlackRock name and Vanguard. I get it. Look, I get it. They're easy targets, right? Because they are the biggest shareholders. If you go down the line, you've got, now Vanguard is the biggest for Disney now. BlackRock dropped back to second place some months ago. But then you got BlackRock, you got State Street, and then on down the line. And of course, look, these same companies own big pieces of most of the Fortune 500 company out there. They manage tens of trillions of dollars of assets for clients around the world. But the fact of the matter is, look, this is on Disney at the end of the day. It really is. And again, this is one of these things, and my perspective is this, as I kind of alluded to earlier. Part of the problem, and this is where I think this would, to be fair, because I always try to be fair, if I'm defending Disney, I would probably bring up the fact that I'm like, look, all you guys out there, y'all investors, the Wall Street people, what were y'all demanding? Subs at all costs. Well, we gave you subs at all costs, right? We went out there and we spent buku money, which they have, to acquire the subscribers that they have. Did they try to do some effective cost mitigation and management by, releasing something on FX or not FX, but FX is one of them. Used to be ABC Family. Freeform, which used to be ABC Family. Like some of the shows they mentioned. We're going to release those on linear concurrently with Disney Plus or slightly ahead of Disney Plus so we can allocate marketing costs and some of the production costs over here, so not everything goes on the Disney Plus credit card. Well, it's not like Disney concealed the costs. I mean, they just took the costs in a different bucket.
The costs were So what you're trying to say is it's not like they're hiding the cost, but they moved the cost to a different bucket. But that does, when you present information, you kind of have a duty of candor, right? Essentially,
right. I'm playing devil's advocate for Disney right now.
I get and by the way, I appreciate that as a lawyer. Like, I appreciate devil's advocate. people often give to me, hey, you don't devil's advocate strong enough for them. So I actually do appreciate that. So what you're trying to say is, okay, maybe they didn't fail to disclose it, but here's the thing, you have a material misrepresentation. So like, that's what they're suing on, is there's a misrepresentation here, which is what
that's what has to go to the court of law. Let's figure out, let's see what a jury says if it gets that far, which it won't.
Well, it'll settle. Yeah, it'll settle before then. But what it's saying is like, hey, these are enough facts to bring a case. These are definitely enough facts to bring a case. So I'm going to read the bolded text here. So as Bob mentioned, consumer behavior really does drive our decision making. We always wanted to value data gained through our numerous consumer touch points. The valuable growth of our portfolio of DTC, direct-to-consumer, provides us with an even greater opportunity to understand their preferences. As we use these insights to help determine how to optimally engage with our audience. Our team uses all the information available in determining how best to allocate our creative content budget across all platforms with the goal to maximize audience engagement and commercial impact. I'm calling bullshit. I do not think that that's been their goal, to maximize audience engagement and commercial impact. I think that, frankly, and this is something I've been on, I think they've got a more specific message that they're pushing through, but that's not necessarily the most commercially impactful. This video has been a clip of a previous live stream, and it's clipped so you can get the information in a shorter, compact package, the information you need. If you want the full video, the whole context, the whole thing, you can check out the full stream. That is in the link below. Check that out, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.